And welcome back to the show, everybody. Very excited about our next guest because I've known Jerry Pate for, well, should I say decades? And I love the guy, great deal of respect, not only for being a great golfer, but just being one of the most unique people that I know. And Jerry, it's so good to see you. You got your Alabama golf shirt on. Some things never change, right?
Well, I'm at my farmhouse and I just took a shower. I've actually been in the woods, controlled burning, getting ready for quail season next year, and I put on a T-shirt, and then I forgot you were going to call tonight, so I didn't even know it said that. But JC has always been nice to send me hats and shirts, and as you know, I've been a supporter of that program for about 50 years.
Well, and you have a lot to do with what is going on down in Tuscaloosa with the facilities, the golf course, etc. I know you're very proud, not only the fact that you were a great player at Alabama and all the things you've done at the Capstone, but I know you're very proud of what you've done golf-wise for the kids there on the golf team.
Well, yeah, we had a golf tournament for 37 years. Started back when Conrad Raylan was head coach, then Dick Spivey, and the new facility is just off the charts. I don't think anyone in America has anything close to it. I did not have a lot to do with it. I built the Jerry Pate Golf Center back in 2000. Which afforded J.C. an opportunity at that time to grow the program. So I'm excited to think we had a little bit to do with the momentum going forward. But the facility is just crazy great. There's 9 holes and a wonderful building for the men and women to practice, work out, and enjoy studying and enjoying golf at the Capstone.
Yeah, Jerry, it is phenomenal. It really is. And it's kind of an arms race. Not only in all the sports, football, basketball, you name it, but especially golf now, and especially in the Southeastern Conference. It is amazing what every one of these schools has, Jerry. Does it amaze you where all these programs have come in golf?
Well, it really has. I'm involved with Old Waverly and Mossy Oak in West Point, Mississippi now. The late George Bryan had built these 2 wonderful golf courses. I was involved since 1985 with the original Old Waverly golf course. And the Mississippi State men and women's golf program is headquartered there on the Mossy Oak course. And it's just a super facility. And all these schools, University of Florida is building a $40 million golf course and facility, and it just seems like everyone's chasing each other.
Yeah, it really is amazing, and I'm excited about where college golf is going. But you mentioned Old Waverly, but I wanted to bring you on to talk a little bit about Casa de Campo down in the Dominican Republic and the late, great Pete Dye. I know you were very close to Pete. His ashes are spread there. He always wore the teeth of the dog hat. He loved that golf course. And you and your company, you're giving it a facelift. Tell us about what's going on at Casa de Campo.
Well, you never know where life's going to take you. I was invited to play the World Amateur there in 1974. I was a senior at Alabama. And ironically, I was the medalist, and I met Pete and Alice Dye. Moved forward 2 years, I went on the PGA Tour. And I played with a guy named Alfie Van Hool from Palm Beach, who was a Cuban sugar farmer. And they lost everything in 1958, 59, 60 in Cuba. So they started back in Palm Beach County. Well, ironically, I told Alfie in 1976 at Pebble Beach that Casa de Campo, Teeth of the Dog, was one of my favorite courses. 1984, he bought some sugar in Palm Beach from Gulf and Western. They had some sugar in the Dominican. So they threw in the golf courses, and at that time there were only 2 golf courses: the Links course and the Teeth of the Dog. We flew down. Gary Drummond actually went on his plane. Took Billy Hamilton, Carl Miller from Birmingham, old golfers. We flew down on Gary's plane and met with Alfie and Pete and played the Teeth of the Dog for his first time in 1984. Moved forward about 5-6 years ago, Pete came down with dementia, and it was obvious he had sort of lost his ability to manage the golf courses. So Alfie, who is 87 years old today, has been my friend since 1976, said, look, you're in charge now. So you're responsible for the agronomics and the architectural components of the 5 golf courses. Pete built 5 wonderful golf courses. And we've done some work on some of the other golf courses, the Die 4 and the La Romana Country Club. And now we're working on the Teeth of the Dog, which has been shut down since January and will open around Christmas. So total facelift as far as new grasses in the fairway, Seaside Paspalum, The greens will have paspalum, all new bunker redos. We're adding a couple of bunkers, not moving them much, but we're bringing them back to Pete's old look. The putting greens will have a little bit of contour, an inch here and there, which is 1%. You won't even see it, but we've lengthened some holes, and of course, Casa de Campo is very excited that about every 3 to 4 years they have the Latin American Amateur Championship there that's hosted by the United States Golf Association, the Royal and Ancient Golf Association, and Augusta National. And if you win the Latin American, you get to play in the Masters, and you play in the British, and you get to go to the final stage of qualifying, I believe, for the U.S. Open. So it's quite a reward if you win. And of course, the teeth of the dog has sort of shined above the other golf courses in the Latin American region. So we're very excited that we've been able to host it, and we're going to host it again in 2026 in another year. So it'll be ready to go after this renovation.
Jerry, I'm so excited. I'm going to get down there in the summer. Gilles Gagnon, the golf director emeritus, has invited me down, and I'm really excited. I mean, you've been all over the world. How special is it to take a golf trip to Casa de Campo in the Dominican Republic?
Well, people talk about going to Hawaii or going to Bahamas, but Casa de Campo is second to none. There's some of the finest restaurants you could ever eat in. There's a marina that has 5 or 6 restaurants, and it's so funny. Some of the yachts are so big down there. There recently were 2 yachts that were plus 300 feet long, the marina. But there's always deep sea fishing boats, fishing tours. You can go out on a day trip. You can go up into Alto de Chaban, which is it's a medieval city that was created by Mr. Bloodhorn's wife, who Mr. Bloodhorn, Charles, he was the chairman of Gulf and Western, and he developed back in 1969 and 70 with a man named Mr. Carta, who was a Dominican, and they developed the Casa de Campo development with Pete Dye, and they built this most unbelievable city over the Chavan River, which is just this gorgeous river. In fact, that's where the movie Apocalypse Now was shot.
Wow.
Believe it or not, a lot of history there, movie scenes and sets. There's a giant amphitheater, a lot of artists there, art school. You just can't believe when you see this place. And of course, there's 5 wonderful golf courses that you can enjoy. There's shooting school. There's an incredible shooting school down there. Horseback riding. You can do swimming at the beach and just taking it easy and doing nothing. So Susie and I go down there, and of course she hangs out when I work. And
right.
Of course I'm a workaholic. I don't take enough time off, even when I'm there. I have to twist my own arm to go jump into the Caribbean. But it's just an incredible place. The water's perfectly clear. It's an island that you just have to go believe it once you see it. And I would welcome anybody to go to Casa de Campo.
Yeah, I can't wait. I really can't wait. I'm fascinated by your relationship with Pete Dye, who, in my opinion, is one of the great golf course architects there's ever been. And the fact, whenever the Players' Championship happens, I'm reminded 1982, Jerry, you grabbed Pete, you grabbed Dean Beeman, you won, and you grabbed him, and you jumped in that water to the left of 18. People haven't forgotten that. That was still very special.
Well, when I jumped out as a senior in college and won the U.S. Amateur, then the World Amateur, I thought, that's kind of a fluke. I'm still going to study business. I was in business in Alabama. Then I played some pro tournaments and did well as an amateur. And as a college student, my dad said, why don't you try to be a golfer? You can always go to work later. Ironically, I always thought it was about just fortune. It just hit me and was just lucky. Then all of a sudden I started working harder, and I thought it was all about my hard work. And then I came full circle to winning the Players' Championship, which is one of Pete Dye's second great golf courses. Of course, he built Harbor Town back in the late 60s, right about when he was building the Teeth of the Dog. But still, the TPC Sawgrass was an incredible golf course, and to be able to win there the first year, the inaugural Players' Championship at the stadium course, was quite fortunate. And then to throw Dean Beeman in. And Pete always told me, he said the greatest break he ever received in his design career was the publicity he received when 30 million people watched me throw it. And immediately people wanted to hire Pete Dye. He went on to build courses, as you know, like Crooked Stick in Indiana, where John Daly won the PGA. He built PGA West. He built oh gosh, I could go on and on with golf courses around the country. French Lick, there was just a lot of great golf courses, and he probably built 100 golf courses. But he got his start really at the off to the right start at Casa de Campo, and then took it on to TPC Sawgrass.
You know, it's amazing, Jerry, and I interviewed him late in his life, and he always wore that teeth of the dog hat. And I always wondered, what the heck is that? And he would always talk about, oh, this great course down the Dominican Republic. Boy, he was proud of that place. And obviously he had his ashes spread there, right?
Well, he did, and of course his son Peavy lives in Dominican, and of course Peavy's brother Perry passed away a year and a half or so, and of course Pete and Alice, his wife, have both passed, and Alice had a tremendous amount to do with some of the thoughts that he created in his architectural and artistic works. But a funny story: we all attended the 25th anniversary of the Players Championship. And they made a big deal about the jump in the lake and then me throwing and Dean. Pete actually wore the same clothes 25 years later, the same old brown boots and kind of a pair of khaki pants and a pink button-down shirt. And he said, this is the same outfit. And I looked at Alice, his wife. He said, yeah, he never throws his clothes away. But he was extremely successful, and gosh, what a mentor to me. I can remember coming out on the tour and playing at Harbor Town as an amateur in 1975, right after I won the World Amateur, and Pete and Alice were there. And so he took me over to a golf course called Long Cove that he was building, and he showed me some of the things that he was doing. And a lot of people don't know this, but a guy named Bobby Weed, who worked at Long Cove for Pete, went to work for the PGA Tour. And Dean Beeman had Pete do what's called TPC Valley course, Dyes Valley, and
Right.
basically Bobby and I built that golf course. Pete didn't show up very much; he had the routing, but we located the strategic components, the bunkers, and did the greens. And Bobby's a great architect in his own right and a good friend. And but Bobby and I had a lot of fun building the TPC Valley course and working with Pete.
Yeah, I've played the Valley course. I like it a lot, Jerry. I really do. And it's very underrated. And they've had the Corn Ferry Championship and some other big tournaments there. So you're right about that. Hey, I wanted to ask you this because you mentioned Harbor Town, and I still think it's one of the great golf gems, certainly that the PGA Tour plays, because they just don't play courses like this anymore. Justin Thomas wins yesterday. Exciting playoff. Hits that putt there on the first extra hole, Jerry. I mean, when you see the PGA Tour still playing in a place like Harbor Town, and it's changed a little bit over the years, obviously, but I mean, I think it's a very unique place, and it says something. You don't need a course that's 7,600 yards or longer to make it difficult and something special for the PGA Tour.
Well, Harbor Town is extremely tight. And when Pete laid it right on the ground, he built a lot of little canals to drain it. And I can remember asking Pete, I said, Pete, I want to be an architect someday. What's the most important thing about designing a golf hole? And he looked at me kind of strange. He said, drainage. And I thought he was going to be strategic about left to right, uphill holes, downhill, short, long holes. I said, well, what's the second most important thing? He said, drainage. So Harbor Town was built in a very low piece of ground right there on the East Coast, on an island, on Hilton Head Island. And Pete did such a wonderful job to build that golf course. It has very small greens, a lot of live oaks, and very tight. In fact, I can't remember what year, maybe 78, 9, or 80, 81. I ended up getting beat there by Doug Toole in a playoff. And in hindsight, that was one I missed that I wish I had won, because I revered Pete and Harbor Town. And, of course, on the I think it's about the 12th or 13th hole. Let's see, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's a short four with these boards that wrap around the green, which is the unique thing you've ever seen. And, of course, you go to Casa de Campo on the second hole, he has this driftwood that's standing up like post, like you would put a fence to hold livestock in Africa or somewhere in a third world country. And he lined the left side of the fairway with these little posts. And then he went on to put wash river boulders down the left side of that. And of course, we're putting new posts back in after 50 plus years. It's been 54 years since he put them in the ground, and some of them have rotted out. but he just is the genius of Pete Dye, and holes like 17, I thought was 6, 15, 16, 17, 18. The par 3, 14, just great holes. And I can remember we went back to 15 in the playoff when I lost, but 16 was a great little dogleg left. 17 was just a marvelous par 3, really a long hole, about 200 yards, and the wind coming across always. And then 18, playing up the sound there in the marsh grass with the lighthouse in the background. I mean, Harbor Town's a must-play golf course. You just need to play it. It's a gem. Of course, it was designed not only by Pete, but Desmond Muirhead and Jack Nicklaus. All three of them sort of worked together on that job. It was early on in Jack's career. I think it was about 1966 or 67. And if my memory is correct, I think Graham Marsh won the first Heritage Golf Tournament back about 68 or 9. And but it was just a wonderful, and he was a very straight ball striker. I know Hale Irwin always played well there. Guys that could drive it straight could play well at Harbor Town because it was really difficult off the tee.
Hey, Jerry, as you look back now, I mean, I know you, obviously, like all of us, you watch the Masters and Rory win the Grand Slam, et cetera. Are you excited about where the PGA Tour is right now? Because I think they've kind of worked their way through the Civil War there with Liv. Ratings are up now. With Rory winning, Scotty Scheffler #1. Do you feel good about where the PGA Tour is right now?
I do, and it's unfortunate the way the Liv problem came about. I was once on the Champions Tour board, but I would have to say I'm not a big supporter of trying to merge those tours together. If it was me as the commissioner, I would have gone to Greg Norman and to the folks that were putting the money up and said, why don't you take over the DP World Tour, align yourself with the European PGA of America. You can have the Ryder Cup, you can have the European Tour, merge it in with a Middle Eastern Tour with the tournaments that are in the Middle East, work with the Asian Tour. The PGA Tour could stay glued to North and South America, and it would be great competition among the tours. It's kind of a shame the way it all came about. I can't imagine the two tours are going to come together. There's a lot of water that's gone under the bridge at this point in time, and I think the tour is certainly financially solvent. I think there were some legal issues that were brought out that have been solved and put behind. So I think the tour is going to move forward. And to watch Rory win was quite a win. You got to give a lot of credit to DeChambeau. He played extremely well up to the last day. He didn't play as well as he wanted to. But it just shows you the pressure at the Masters. When you're leading the Masters, you can bogey every single hole and double bogeys, plenty of them. And the person chasing you, literally, like Justin Rose, can birdie every hole. And I can go back to 82 of my last Masters before I tore my shoulder, which was the end of my career at 28 years old. Craig Stadler shoots, I think, 34 of the first 9, and I shoot 38, so he has like about a 7-8 shot lead. Of course, the back 9, he shoots around 40, and I shoot 32, so I pick up 8 shots on the back 9. And that was quite a battle coming down the stretch. And Dan Pohl had a brilliant 64, and then Craig, who's a very, very close friend, and Dan played off. Unfortunately for Dan, Craig was the winner. But it just shows you Craig had a lead, and he's making bogeys, and I'm making birdies, and here you go. But, people can't imagine the pressure. And when Roy hit the shot on 18, I think the best 2 shots he hit all week were the drives he hit on 18, not only the 72nd hole, but the first playoff hole. You don't realize how tough a drive that was. He hit a nice little cut off the bunker, and the bunker's no good. If you cut it too much, you hit the pine trees, that's dead over to the right. And if you pull it at all trying to cut it, you're just as snookered by the trees on the left. But he hit 2 beautiful drives. But for him to miss the green with a 25-yard gap wedge, he literally, and I could promise you, he could hit 200 balls from there. Maybe would miss it once when he just lost his concentration, just the redundancy of hitting 200 shots. He would never miss that green. In fact, when he hit the shot in the second time, I'll be kind of cruel and say it really wasn't a great shot. That's a shot he would expect to hit. He would think from 120 yards with a backdrop behind him, with a wedge, with a perfect lie out of the middle of fairway, he should hit the ball somewhere between, a gimme and 8 feet. That's what you look for as a pro that's in his height of his career. And when he hit the one in the bunker, I know if he had a chance, he would have slit his throat or slit his wrist. I'm sure he sits back today and says, how in the world did I miss that? Did I miss that shot? And the crazy thing about it, I thought he missed a lot of putts. He misread a lot of putts. I was fortunate enough to have one of the club caddies there in the old days. Before 1982, you took one of the local club caddies, and all the putts that go downhill on the back nine, when you're putting downhill towards Rays Creek, they look like they go one way, and they literally will go the other way towards Rays Creek. And when I go back and look at all those putts, he missed every single one of them towards Rays Creek. And then the layup he hit on 13 was a really poor choice. He had 40, 50 yards of fairway to the right. If he hits it out to the right towards the spectator, towards the patrons, he has an easy wedge shot, similar, is downhill, not uphill, similar to the one on 18 with a backstop. No way he could have spun it back in that creek. The worst he's going to make 5, but when he made 7 there, the game was on. So I think he made a few mental errors. Whether he did it because he wasn't prepared or the pressure is just unbelievable at Augusta. And like I said, I've been there. I mean, I think I finished, it was a 2nd, 4th, and a 6th in my first play-in, and then I got injured. And I was exempt. I never played again. But you just can't explain to people the pressure. And Rory's such a great champion. I'm so happy for him. And there's so many good players there. Justin Rose, God almighty, what a great guy. I met with Justin in London. I happened to see him at Sunningdale Golf Course one day with his son a couple of years ago in the summertime. And I said, I guess you're going to the Live Tour, aren't you? And he looked at me and said, Jerry, I think I have a little more gas in my tank. And I think he's won one. I know he's won once. I think he might have won twice in the last 3 years since Live came out. And he dang near won again at the Masters. So you got to say Justin Rose is one of the great players in the game at his age. I think he's, 45, Doug? You keep up with all the stats.
Yeah, he's 44, and he won Pebble Beach and was one of the stars on the Ryder Cup team, Jerry. I mean, he's still playing at a pretty high level.
But it's amazing. He was with his young son at Sunningdale. That's his home course in London. And he said, Jerry, I think I have a little more gas in my tank. He certainly does. And so the tour is so strong now. There's so many guys that can really, really play. And I think in my era in the 80s, we had some great players. I mean, I go back and look at the Ryder Cup where you had Nicholas, Watson, Trevino, Kite, Irwin, Floyd, Crenshaw, Bruce Litsky, Bill Rogers, and myself. And then I look at guys, Lanny Watkins, who didn't make that team, Gil Morgan, Andy Bean, who could really play. There were so many good players in that era also. And then you move back in the 60s when Arnold played and Jack was coming out, and you had Gary Player and Billy Casper and Trevino, Gene Littler. I mean, God, there were so many great. I can remember in the 60s as a kid moving from Anniston, Alabama down to Pensacola to the Pensacola Open, which started back in 1925 and one of the oldest tournaments on tour, and watching all these great players play. And I'll never forget watching Lee Trevino in 69 after he won the U.S. Open. I guess it was 68 when he beat Jack at Marion. But it's a great game, Doug, and it's a game you can play a lifetime. I still enjoy playing it. I'll sneak my clubs out sometimes when I go to Casa de Campo and reminisce on the famous 16th hole. It's about 210 over the ocean, and I see Curtis Strange and Gary Koch sitting behind the green in 74 in the World Amateur. I needed to par a couple of holes to come in. I remember in a strong wind hitting a 1-iron there and making a 2, and then I parred 17 and 18, and we won. And it's the memories of a lifetime when I was in college that you'd never forget. and seeing Gary and Curtis, saw Curtis and Gary both at the Masters, and George Burns was on that team also. I didn't see George, but just so many great memories in golf between the team of World Amateur teams, Walker Cup teams, and Ryder Cup teams. And to think guys like Rory are going to enjoy this for many, many years to come. And of course, the U.S. is going to have a heck of a tough time to beat those guys from over there. They have some wonderful players.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy at Bethpage. I can't wait for that in September. Jerry, you were so nice to give us some time. I'm amazed how busy you are. I mean, Casa de Campo, the facelift, Old Waverly. And that's just two of many projects you got going, Jerry. It's unbelievable. When do you have time to rest?
I don't like to rest, and of course, go to bed. We don't drink, we don't smoke. We eat well. We go to bed early and we get up early. But ironically, we were talking about this the other day at Old Waverly. I was working on a bunker and driving a little D5 Caterpillar, and my partner, Boyce Adams, Mike Thompson's a partner in Birmingham. I said, I'm the highest priced bulldozer operator you've ever seen here. But, we've been very fortunate. Our Toro business now has several hundreds of employees, and we're in 14 states with offices in Ohio and in Atlanta, Birmingham, Pensacola. We go from Texas to Savannah all the way to the south of Detroit, distributing Club Car and Toro, Echo, Shindao equipment. And my kids all work in the business with me. Really, Doug, the greatest break I ever got in my golf career was becoming injured. And I tell people that, and they think I've lost my mind, because people say, wow, you were 28 years old, you could have won 25, 30 more tournaments. But, it gave me an opportunity to reset my priorities and also focus on my family more, focus on my wife more, focus on my kids that were young. And then I had one more. Jamie wasn't born until 83. He's my youngest, and all of my kids work in our business. I'm able to take off on the weekends and weekends and watch Justin Rose and DeChambeau and Rory. So that's actually a blessing. So it's been a blessing to be able to be involved in business, and I just love to work. I don't know what it is. I like to see things and create things, and I like to build them. And we have a wonderful Gil Hance golf course at West Point, Mississippi, at Old Waverly, and the original golf course was built by Bob Cupp and me in 1986, and it's in wonderful condition. Yeah. And we're doing a renovation on all the bunkers on the Gil Hance course, and regrassing the green, so it's going to be in pristine condition this fall. So I hope people that are listening to this will come play it and be my guest.
Absolutely. We'll be over. Hey, Jerry, we appreciate it, my friend. Thank you so much. It's great to see you as always.
Thank you, Doug. And roll Tide.
Yeah, roll Tide.